Well, I've been sick, but I am better. No fever. You can do fever this way or fever this way, when your mother used to put her hand on your face. Or you can even do fever. Remember, this is temperature, so you can also use it that way. I've seen it all. So either sign that you choose would be correct. Okay, so today I thought it would be a good idea for like this Christmas time, is that many of people are feeling stressed or they have burnout. Now this is tired and then totally exhausted. So tired, that's burnout, or just I am just so exhausted. It's like I can't take another step or whatever. And so this is a pretty good article, and it's talking about preventing. Remember, this is preventing. This is also safeguarding. You're guarding against something. You can prevent it. So you have this, this wall up. You're safeguarding something. So you can prevent, burnout. And so the goal of this whole psychological model, MODEL, that model, it's remember, this is more like to show or to represent, any type of those things. To model, I'm going to show it to you, so it can be model, a symptom, something that is shown. And so the goal is to reduce emotional, remember our E, emotional exhaustion. And so they were saying that there's this quiet quitting. Remember, we did like we join something and then we quit it. Join, quit. So if your hand is open, it's okay. It's really technically should be closed, but most people don't do that. It's like, I just quit. Because they have to have that shape to get it out of it. So, but they said that burnout is not only in your head and you feel it in your body, right? So it's your situation, your circumstance. I do C for culture. So for circumstance, I usually do situation. So your circumstances, your situations, because you've now put a plural on it, put an S on it. So they said that it could be prevented, so I don't know, or reduced. So they said that the first one is demand. So this is demand or command, because you're telling someone to do something. You have to do it, right? So a command or a demand is something that you're telling someone you must do. So it would be the same sign because it's the same concept. To command or demand. And it says that you should make different choices whether it's structural. And that doesn't necessarily mean a physical structure, but how things are structured, like if it's at work or something like that. But it says that to load. Now here's your load, here's your burden, right? You can have a burden this way, but most people put it both on there. So a burden is on your shoulder and you go down. So if you have a burden and you want to lighten it, then what do? You go up, right? So you can say lighten your burden lighten. If you have time to do it in a ASL word order, I do lighten your load or lighten your burden. This is responsibilities. And if you have so many, then it's a burden, right? It's like, there's responsibilities. They're stacked on and then they weigh me down, right? But you need to lighten it. So you need to lighten it. And I probably would do lighten that load instead of like, I need to strengthen myself, right? So I can carry the same amount of load. That's what that connotation means that as well. If someone did say that, it's like I want to strengthen to myself so I can carry the same load, I would probably do that whole same concept. But if you want to lighten your load, you could also like take it off, right? And not have as many responsibilities. I hope you're seeing why I really enjoy this language, because you can still convey so many different, the subject in so many different ways. So that's the fun of it. It's not to make it harder, it's actually to make it easier, because you have to really think, what is it that I'm really trying to say? I have all these so many responsibilities and I'm way down and I need to take that load off. See how that works? It's more clear. You can see it, and that's the whole point. Is that you're not just trying to make signs and symbols to where a hearing person understands it. You're making it to someone who's visual who can't hear understand it. So, so now that we have lightened our load by taking some of those responsibilities away, or taken our load and lightened it, how? How? So we need to control. Remember, we have our reins, and we want to control that. And so all those demands, we want to eliminate some of them. See how that does? Where you have demands, eliminate it. So you immediately don't say I want to demands I want to eliminate. Say demands, eliminate them. So you immediately want to have your subject, and what are you going to do with it? So, and then you need support. So remember, the hand that we write with is doing the action. So we have the same hand shape. And so we just have this as a natural way to put it. Here is our whatever load that is. And then we're going to have this foundational where we're going to push it up where it supports it. Supports it. So it's the same hand shape, just have a different palm orientation. Okay, so that's how they say to do that. So it says that to identify, or to, what does that even mean, right? So if you look at it and you make a decision, you identify. So you could say, oh, my demands, I identify it. So like if I have all these ideas and I have these demands and I identify it, because remember, I want to represent, I want to identify it. It is initialized, but that is the sign for identify. Or you could say, you could do all kinds of wonderful things with that. You could say, oh, my demands, I need to look, and that's what I'm going to identify. You pick it up. But that would be more ASL. It takes a longer to set up the whole structural point. If it was a deaf person telling a story, or if you're telling a story and you know the story, then you can do that. But hearing people, we learn to talk differently, and so we have to kind of use our own grammar and then how you would set that up. So if someone says, oh, you need to identify your demands, you could even look at it and then identify it, or you can scrutinize it and identify it. Scrutinize. This is more of a self, but you can kind of put it out of your body and still look at, because you're looking at something. Well, you're evaluating it in a sense. This is evaluate because you're judging it. But if you're looking into like, oh, I want to be insightful, so that's closer to you, but I really need to look at it, you can also use that same concept elsewhere. And then it says, oh, I work too much overtime, OT. And most of people know what overtime is, or working too many hours. So work, and then you have a whole bunch, you have them all here in your hand and throw them down. That's too much, right? Too many hours. You could do it that way. Or you could say, I work too much overtime, or overtime too much or a lot. I'm just working late. Do you see how you can make all these different concepts, the ideas, and say the same thing, but maybe put it in a different way? And I like showing people that, because then you may have an opportunity to use it, or if you see it, then if you see someone going, you're going, oh man, they're working overtime, or they're working too many hours, right? They're working way too much. You would already make that assumption if you're just watching it. And then it says to control the goals, or to control the environment. Remember, we did this for culture, situation or circumstance, your environment. It's the same thing. And this is sort of arbitrary, not sure how that came to be, but nonetheless it is there. So you need to kind of control that. Like you can use like a mixed, a hybrid. A hybrid, which is a mix, right? So a hybrid work schedule. Someone said, well, what is that? Oh, work from home and then go into the office. Oh, yeah, I see. This is, oh, okay, I see, okay. So that's hybrid. So you work from home, online, and then you go into the office in person, right? So you face that. This is my hand that I write with is out here, and the hand that I don't write with is closest to my body, and it's just because it's convenient, right? You don't want too much movement where it's going to hurt yourself. Okay. Um, so so that's how you kind of control it or have flex time. Flex time. That means what? That means I can arrive like early in the morning and leave late, or arrive late and then leave even later, more late, right? So like 10 to 7 or whatever. Or I could, come in at 7:30 and work until 4:30 or whatever, So you need to know what you're saying, really. Okay. And then support. You need support from your boss and your coworkers, and you need to support them. Need to. Okay. So that's kind of that whole article about that is like how do you control your environment and to reduce your stress. Remember we did, because this is like emotions or feelings or whatever, and so they're all inside here, and you hold on to it, and then if you push it down, it's like it builds up pressure, right? Anything that's getting filled up and it's getting more and more, but this container doesn't get any bigger, right? It doesn't get any bigger. It's you. Then it's going to feel that pressure. That's why some people do blood pressure. Though remember I showed you I do blood pressure because it's the cuff. So, but there's some people that do blood pressure. It's just how they're taught, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like the blood pressure cuff. I think it's more clear and it's easier. But you can see this is how this is like it's building up and you're pushing it down, the pressure, so the pressure builds. So, and so look at the signs of what you're doing and see, how much fun they are. So, anyway, I wanted to make sure that I got all of those different things that it's just talking about the different controls. Maybe you could have a better equipment, like for example, like if your pressure is because it doesn't work or the internet doesn't work, maybe you can tell your boss or request. This is too formal to ask your boss, if maybe have better internet. Remember, this is better internet or better equipment. Maybe the machine that you're using. This is any type of generic machine, but this because it's got gears and it moves like that. It's like a motor. Like maybe you have better equipment. You can ask for that, so the pressure will be less. So those are the things that I wanted to kind of show you that people would use, because that's the whole point, is like, here's some vocabulary and here's how you use it. Okay, so let's see, we already did that, and it says that having support is more of a strength and not a weakness, like weak in the knees, weakness. So weakness not, strength yes. Okay, all right, so practice, and we'll have more fun things during the Christmas holiday. So anyway, practice with your hearing and your deaf friends, and I will see you later. Bye.